Hi, my name is Freda Player-Peters, and I am the Executive Director of Emerge Tennessee. And I am thrilled to have you joining us to meet with one of our first alums who graduated from our inaugural class here at Emerge Tennessee, Martesha Johnson. And we're here to celebrate Black women, and she is a great Black woman who's done great things here in Nashville, Tennessee. But we want to have a conversation of why women should run for office, particularly Black women, and historic, so they can do even now into the 21st century. So I just want to welcome everyone. Hope you have a great conversation. Martesha is a good friend of mine, and we've known each other for a while, and I'm really proud of her, of what she's accomplished in a great year and what great things that Emerge can do, but also what you can do as being a great elected official, and maybe took a non-traditional a way of doing it. And so, Martesha, you were elected. Well, first let's talk about your appointment, because first you ran for an appointment, and we're going to talk about that to election kind of as your foray into running for office. So let's talk about how you went through the Emerge program, and then an appointment came up, and let's talk about that, and then how that sets you up to run. So talk about how you first heard about the appointment, and then your process of doing that.
Sure. So fortunately, at the time, I was an attorney with the Public Defender's Office. I was a team leader for a criminal court division. And so I was in the courthouse every day during the time that sort of this scandal rocked the city. And we had a judge in Nashville who found himself in some trouble and ultimately resigned from his position as a general sessions judge. The process to replace a judge is to have the Metro City Council appoint someone to finish their term. And so I was literally starting the Emerge class, and this happens, totally unexpected for it to happen. And it became, this is your opportunity. This is the opportunity that you've been waiting for to sort of elevate the platform of the injustices that happen to poor people, to have a diversity of perspective on the judicial bench in Nashville. And I was terrified of what that meant. I thought, I'm a great lawyer. I am an advocate. I love the fight for my clients. But when you talk about politics, I'm terrified. And even the appointment process was political, because I had to become acquainted with all of the council members and try and have conversations with them to convince them that they should appoint me. And it was a process, I was confronted with, what happens when there are members of the council who are seeking the same appointment. There were other well-qualified candidates who were seeking the appointment. And I was virtually, very young. And to the council members, I was a nobody. And so I then went on this sort of tour of meeting people. I think we even had a debate of sorts. Writing letters, appearing before the council, and finally, the day of the vote, I chose to give, I think, a pretty passionate speech about why I should have been the candidate selected for judge. I went into that process with a healthy understanding that I didn't think I was going to achieve the appointment. But what I think I did achieve was much respect from members on the council who didn't know who I was. They didn't really know that this platform around public defense and who we elect to judicial benches was something that they needed to be paying attention to. And people who were very frank with me about the fact that they would not vote for me, I earned their respect. And I think that was important. It was important for me to, start the process of elevating my voice if I thought I wanted to have a leadership position in this city. And so I did that. And I left that appointment process, disappointed but proud of myself, never knowing that my current position was even an option. And it was shortly after that my then boss, the leader of the Public Defender's Office at the time, announced that she would not run for re-election. And I mean, it literally, if I had not stepped out to do that appointment, I think my course would have been very different. I was ready to run for office because I had experienced the appointment process and because I had finished Emerge at that time. I was still scared, but I was ready.
As I tell people, when you run for office, if you're not nervous, then you don't want it enough, or you're not doing it right. So I think it's a very natural aspect. I'm a school board member, and even if someone's experienced me, I ran and lost and, ran and got elected again. I was just as nervous the second time as I was the first time. So I think it's a natural aspect that you're naturally nervous when you run because it's something important. And I remember I was a lobbyist at the time at the council, and I remember people being very impressed after your nomination process. And I remember as soon as the vote happened, other council members came to me and was like, we have to run Martesha. And I think it's an important thing to know that sometimes when you lose, it's a platform to set you up for something else. And I tell everyone, when the first time I lost, people were like, Freda, when are you going to run again? And especially for Black women, that sometimes the odds are stacked against you, and understand that sometimes you need that exposure to see that how qualified you are, and that process to show. I mean, remember that speech? That was a wonderful speech that you captivated council members in saying that you have to be part of the electorate here in Nashville. And so I think that's a key point that we let women know, that go for the appointments. Because it's the great stepping stone. Because when you ran, it really opened doors for you. That the point that if I remember correctly, you ran unopposed, correct?
I did. I essentially, I was very blessed in the process because, when I ran, I had a lot of support from people who remembered, talking with me during the appointment process, and remember that I have been a passionate public defender for my entire legal career. So the natural, of course, I'm running for public defender. And so I think that it was certainly because I stepped out there despite my fears that led me to the type of experience that I had when I ran for public defender.
And I think it's really important. Unfortunately, that was in 2008 that, the beauty is that you're the first. You're the first African-American, the second woman to be chief public defender here at Nashville, Davidson County. But I think the beauty of it was your background, that you came from the defender's office. Talk about like your advocacy. I know this past year you had a visual on the courthouse grounds by Black Lives Matter. So talk about what brought you to the public defender's office as the attorney, and now as the chief elected officer and the chief public defender, but also as an advocate, that activists and advocates can be elected officials, and that they're a breath of fresh air, particularly being women of color, understanding how justice has not always been served to us and to our communities and to our brothers and our sons. I know you have a lovely baby boy.
Yes, and a big girl, a 10-year-old daughter. Mm-hmm.
So talk about that, about your justice background, your advocacy background.
Sure. So I went to law school knowing that I was interested in criminal law, but I did not at all have any idea what that meant. I was interested. I did an internship at the prosecutor's office in Memphis, and it was an extreme experience, one that made me say, never mind, I don't want to do criminal law. Instead, I'll do entertainment law, and probably, I can end up on the red carpet with Beyonce. That did not happen. And so I was still drawn to the aspect of criminal law. And in 2007, I did an internship here in Nashville at the Nashville Public Defender's Office. And that summer was transformational for me. I knew that I wanted to be a public defender, and I wanted to be a public defender in Nashville because the opportunities that it gave me to advocate for people who, for the most part, don't have a lot of folks advocating for them. By the time my clients make it to be a client of the public defender's office, they have often experienced many systems that have failed them before. So education systems, systems that would have allowed them to get appropriate treatment for mental illness or addiction, or they had some childhood trauma that was unaddressed because there weren't any resources available to them. And so learning that people really come to us with some serious issues that have never been addressed. And also, I have always believed, I subscribe to the thought that people are more than the worst thing they've ever done. So just because they've been charged with a crime doesn't mean that they don't deserve to have humanity. They don't deserve to be treated with dignity and to have their story told as a part of the process. I was naturally drawn to being a public defender, and I was settled that I was going to be a public defender for life, right? Being a public defender, I'm not going to paint it as a starry job, though. It is the most fulfilling job I have ever had in my life. It is the only career I will have. but it is hard. Being a public defender requires you to be proximate to people who are suffering, people who have disparities that have existed their whole lives, that are feeling the brunt of incarceration and poverty and the, sometimes systemic racism that is inherent in our system. And we're proximate to that. Other than my clients' family members, most times I'm the closest person to them during this process. And so that is grueling. It weighs you down sometimes, and you have to find ways to rejuvenate yourself. And many times I sort of reinvented myself. I started as a public defender because I wanted to help people. I was dead set on that. I need to help people. And a few years in, it became, I wanted to crush systems. I was angry at the way systems treated my clients. And so I wanted to crush systems. And then a few years later, after that, I realized that my voice as an advocate was important, but the decisions are not being made in the courthouse. The decisions about the laws, the decisions about the way in which we treat people that come into the system, they're not being made day to day in the courthouse. And so I was drawn to leadership, drawn to the places where I could at least have my voice heard and my client's voice heard about the things that we should be doing as a city. And so that call to leadership is just sort of what led me to first seek leadership within my office. So I led 2 criminal court teams, but in addition to that, I was a member of several committees of our office that were responsible for policy change and communication. And then when the opportunity arose, I ran, and here I am. I will say that, yes, I think you absolutely can be an activist and an advocate, an activist and an elected official. It's tough sometimes to be an activist and a public defender because the root of what I do is what my clients desire, not what I desire. And so sometimes you have to be mindful that what I feel might cause my client some harm. And so I have to always be mindful of that balance. It was necessary for public defenders across this country to march for Black lives. I'm glad we participated in that. And I like to say that I try to be an advocate and fight for those things all the time. It's difficult to do most days, trying to navigate all of that, but it is important work, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to do it.
Great. Well, I'm going to give you I'll have you give advice to women who are thinking about running, particularly single mothers and mothers. When you ran, you were a single mother, and I absolutely loved it because it gave a reality of women who could run, and that being a single mother, it doesn't have to hinder you, and that you can overcome it. So can you give advice about what was that like? My favorite story is about you and Tara, and you had a forum, and Tara came, who's also a single mother, and she brought her child to keep your child company during the forum so you can focus and do your work. And so that's part of the sisterhood network of Emerge. But also, what advice can you give to women who are the same situation, that are great accomplished women, but just through circumstance of life, they're just like everyone else?
My advice would be to be scared, to embrace the fear that comes along with the thought process of running for office or seeking an appointment, but use the tools that you have as a mom to get you through that fear, right? My biggest barriers were myself. I convinced myself from the moment someone asked me to seek the appointment that I wasn't qualified enough. I could not raise money because I didn't come from a political family. I didn't have people in my political background that, had molded me into being a politician. Here I was, a woman passionate about public defense, but I wasn't qualified to do these jobs. And that is so wrong. You are more than qualified. The inherent skills necessary to keep a child alive means that you can be anything that you want to be. And so it's equally as important, I think, for my daughter during that time as it was for me. And I was very intentional about taking her to forums and debates and any campaign event that I had, because I wanted her to see, yes, this is a struggle. Mommy is balancing how to be a good mom for you, but also how to elevate this important cause. And if you see me do this, hopefully the barriers that existed for me will never exist for you. And so I just challenge women to understand that, we sit around and we think about all of the reasons we shouldn't do it. And our male counterparts think about all the reasons that they have to do it. And I just challenge us to be more like that, in that we can accomplish many things. And you're right, the sisterhood was so important. Many people helped me, hold my daughter's hand while I was giving a speech, or fix her a plate at events so that I could work the room. There were people who were very supportive, and that is important. Having a network of folks or a couple of people that you trust that can help you when the times are dark are so important. And I think that's the beauty of a network like Emerge, where you have women who understand women issues and can help each other sort of rise to the occasion.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We got here to celebrate the first Black public defender of Nashville, Tennessee, elected to office. And I want to thank you. You have been a great hero of Emerge, and I am personally proud of you. And I encourage all women to go to Emerge America. You see it on your screen. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, but go to www.emergeamerica to learn about their step forwards, what it takes to run for office, and how to join a training program near you. So thank you, Martesha. I love you. Thank you for Happy Black History Month.
Thank you. I appreciate it.